Good morning, everyone. We are discussing the models and contents of health education. And if you remember, then in the same series, we had talked about the scientific model, we had talked about the medical model, we had talked about the motivational model, we had talked about the social intervention model for health education, where the facts and health education content is based on certain content depending on the gravity with which you want to deliver your education. Okay, so just to quickly revise, the medical model talked only about the recognition and cure of diseases, technological advances for the diseases, and biomedical views on health and disease. So it was a totally scientific approach towards any particular disease, and we had discussed some examples for that. And then we saw the motivational model. We saw that motivational model acts as a method for translation of health information into health action, and that's why for motivating a person to change his behavior, just scientific facts are not enough. Understanding of the barriers, understanding of the cultural practices surrounding a particular behavior is also understanding, and then you have to target those to motivate a person to adopt something. So we saw were three stages in adoption: awareness, motivation, and action. And these are not the stereotype stages. You may have to act in any one of the stage depending on the barrier which you identify. Okay, then we saw uh, the social intervention model, where we deal with more complex problems which originate in the society, and that is why simple facts of let's say simple scientific facts or motivation alone are not enough. You have to change the mindset of the society. You have to take the help of laws and political support and so many other things to finally tackle these problems. And we saw that raising the age of marriage, elimination of dowry, which are more of complex social problems more than medical problems, but medical problems nevertheless are intertwined with these problems. So this was the social intervention model, where motivation approach enough is not sufficient and you need larger action. So then we talked about the sorry, contents of health education. What are the things which we try to cover in health education, or what should be inside the messages? So we saw that when we talk about human biology, we talk about the structure and functions of the body. We can explain a disease by what is the normal anatomical structure, what are the normal physiological functions, and what has gone wrong with those functions, right? And then you can tell them about adoption of healthy lifestyles, role of exercise, role of sleep, role of rest, so role of proper nutrition, and then how to handle such problems. Typical examples of this would be how a person gets tuberculosis and how it can be cured, how a person gets diabetes mellitus and how it can be controlled. So these are the things which revolve around human biology alone. They are very scientific in their causation. Social factors attached to these diseases are they are there, but nevertheless they don't play much role in control. Okay, so it is mainly to deal with the structure and function of the body. So effects of alcohol, smoking, reproductive biology, all these things you can talk about in human biology, and we have seen examples for this. Okay, so next is when you talk about family planning, or when you talk about nutrition and child health. So this is one of the very important messages that you have to give to every family, every mother, that how to keep a proper spacing between two children according to the government norms whichever have been proposed by those countries' governments. Like in India, we have the one child norm now. So you have to educate all the mothers about having the one child norm, its benefits, okay, and how to go for one child norm. Then you have to educate every mother about breastfeeding, benefits of breastfeeding, how it benefits the mother, how it benefits the baby. how it leads to healthy growth and development of the baby. So all these details should be explained to the mother when she is breastfeeding or right before she is about to give birth to a child. But in every family, mother should know the benefit of breastfeeding. Then you talk about safe motherhood, so that they opt for safe institutional deliveries. They can identify the danger signs which are happening to them during pregnancy. So, and they can seek help for that. So all these things, these are the basic informations that you talk about in every family. Okay, then finally you talk about immunization, because it is the birthright of every child to be protected against the vaccine preventable diseases. So countries are investing a lot in immunization, so every family should know and get benefit of these services. Then other things which every family should know or every mother should know is how to wean a child and what is proper child growth. Weaning means introduction of supplementary foods at the age of about 6 months. Okay, it may start earlier in some countries, but WHO says that up to 6 months breastfeeding should be given, exclusive breastfeeding should be given, and then after 6 months, when breast milk alone is not sufficient for the growth and development of the child, at that phase supplementary food should be introduced. So that process is called weaning. You are weaning the child off the breast milk. Okay, so weaning, what are the proper weaning foods, how much quantity should be given, what should be the consistency of those foods, how to make those foods safe so that the child does not get diarrhea, because this is the age when unsafe foods start entering the gut of the child, and the children suffer from severe diarrheal diseases, repeated diarrheal diseases, and respiratory infections. So it's very important to describe the composition, frequency, consistency of weaning foods, so that the child, and preparation also, preparation of weaning foods, availability of locally available foods which can be used as good weaning or supplementary diet. So these, all these things should be explained to the mother. And what is their role in child growth, what a growth curve looks like, how should a normal child grow, how much weight should he gain. Okay, what are the probabilities that the child is not gaining weight, then what should she suspect. So all these things you describe to the mother. She is interested in the growth and development of her child, she makes all the efforts for that. So education, she should be educated enough to see that her efforts are rewarded or not. Then coming to diarrheal disease, already I told you that 6 months is the age when people, 4 to 6 months ideally is the age when people start weaning, and then because of unsafe food or dirty hands or so many other cultural environmental factors, children frequently suffer from diarrheal diseases. This leads to lowered immunity also, this leads to dehydration and its effects also. So direct effect is dehydration, so every mother should know what is dehydration, what are the signs of dehydration, how to identify and correct dehydration at home, and when to seek medical help. So all these things are described very well in medical charts, so there is no rocket science about it. They have to identify it and they have to approach the health facilities early if they feel that the child is landing into danger. Then respiratory infections also similarly, you know, we have the IMNCI guidelines. IMNCI stands for Integrated Management of Neonatal and Childhood Illnesses. So this is one program which is designed by the government of India for let's say kind of syndromic approach towards childhood illnesses. So children frequently present with fever, so what could be the causes of this fever and how it can be identified and treated, right from diagnosis up to management, everything is described in these IMNCI guidelines. So mothers can be made aware of these guidelines, that they can approach the field worker for the, let's say, diagnosis of their child according to MNCI guidelines, and then treatment, management and follow up also. So diarrheal disease is described, management of respiratory infections is described. So all these things can be taught to the mother, how to keep the child warm, how to frequently breastfeed, how to observe for danger signs, how to control fever at home, what are the home available fluids that can be given. So many things are there which help in controlling the infection and help to make the child feel better. So all these informations should be given to every family so that they can use it. Then finally, the role of environmental hygiene, because there is one entity which is called neonatal sepsis, or otherwise sepsis also. Sepsis is nothing but bacterial infection or infection of varied etiology, you can say. So this has clear relation to the environment, type of surrounding cleanliness that we observe, the type of water that we use, how frequently we wash our hands, type of toilets that we use, what waste disposal. So many things are in and around the house, indoor air pollution, ventilation, lighting. So many things are there which are responsible for house hygiene or poor house hygiene, I would say. So family should know what is right in their house, what is not right in their house, and how to make that not right into right. Let's say families, a house, you observe a house which has many windows but they are closed, and inside the house when you go you feel that it's quite suffocating and there is no fresh air. So you need not advise them to construct new windows, because the windows are already there. All you have to advise them is open those windows for at least 4 to 6 hours per day, so that air change happens, and then all these disease elements get ventilated and flushed out. So how to observe basic things in house hygiene, and simple things you can educate the families about. You have to educate the families about role of fresh air, role of fresh water, or safe water, role of light in the house. Everything they should know, only then they are expected to act accordingly. Then another component of this one health education messages is nutrition, where you guide people for optimum and balanced diets. You aim to promote good dietary habits, and you try to educate them that more calories does not mean good health. So food should be wholesome, it should be balanced. So they should have these days they have described the concept of portions, so or divisions in a plate. So you can make the markings on a plate in the shape of a Y. Okay, so one third of the Y is your carbohydrates, the other half of the Y is other third of the Y is proteins, and on the top of the Y you have a mix of fiber rich food, green vegetables, fruits, and everything. And on the side there is one white circle also, which implies that there should be curd or dairy product in a small portion, which should be consumed every day. So this concept of food can be explained, and I already told you that people consume calorie rich diet and say that we are already eating enough. So they have to be explained that this is not enough. Only eating calories may not be enough. You might need less food, but it should be more balanced. So we had talked about this already. Then we talk about hygiene. So I need not tell you what is the role of hygiene, what is the role of personal hygiene, what are the standards of cleanliness. But all these things, when you observe many families which are cluttered together, such as in urban slums or remote village areas, they do not understand that disease can be linked to hygiene. Many a times people do not understand disease can be linked to poor hygiene. So they will say that we wash our hands, we comb our hair, but probably they won't understand that infrequent washing of hair can lead to lice in the hair. I would say later on you will learn that it is called there is a name for that infection, so you will learn that later. So bathing every day, clean clothing, and all these things, they lead to lesser infections, more hygiene, more health, okay, skin health, and body health altogether. So all these things repeatedly, they are not only told in the homes, but they are also trained in the schools. There are so many messages in the primary health centers or sub centers. So they should be a part of the health education messages. They should be ongoing. Now, where particularly do you need to give messages on hygiene? Personal hygiene, yes, you have to give for every disease which is linked to in unhygienic practices, like let us say tuberculosis, let us say skin infections, then let us say diarrheal diseases. So all these things are directly related to poor personal hygiene. Or dental cavities, poor oral health, these are directly related to poor personal hygiene. So then the target is that you have to start training at an early age. Okay, so that is why in most of the school education programs now they talk about personal hygiene, what is its importance, how to maintain personal hygiene. Everything is now a part of school education programs, so they have it in their curriculum. But apart from that, people who have not attended school earlier in their life, you may find many people who are illiterate, so they have to be explained about these things and the benefits of doing these things. Okay, then in environmental hygiene, you talk about the two aspects. You can talk about domestic hygiene, you can talk about community hygiene. Domestic hygiene means hygiene of home, use of soap, need for fresh air, light, ventilation, storage, food, etc. Okay, so just now I told you that when you talk about health at home or the factors, house hygiene, so you have to talk about all these things. What is the importance of light, what is the importance of air, what is the importance of ventilation, okay, how food should be stored, it should be safe from pests and rodents, okay, it should be stored in a dry proper temperature. So all these things you have to explain when you are explaining about domestic hygiene. Environmental hygiene, you talk about water supply, you talk about disposal of waste, disposal of human excreta, um, all these things you can talk about. In pollution, air pollution, you can talk about these days, this is a growing problem. So all these things you can talk about in environmental hygiene and what is their impact on their disease condition. So that also you have to say, so that you can make a link between what you are talking and what you are trying to get a person to do. I would give a small example here. If you are talking about frequent, let's say, outbreaks of diarrhea in a community, and then you are able to show that the water supply is not sanitary, or there is indiscriminate disposal of waste in and around the houses in that particular community, it is very easy to correlate these two things and then explain to the person that germs are coming from this to your water supply, and then you are consuming that polluted water, and which is leading to your repeated infections. So such kind of messages, a link should be made wherever you identify that there is a gap. If there is a good practice, it should be promoted also. So always we should not go about that we will criticize everybody for their wrong practices. We in health education, it is very important that first you praise what is good, what is going on, what are the practices which need to be promoted and what are the practices which need to be deterred. So you make a list of those two things, and probably you can also identify certain behaviors and practices which may not impact the health of a person at all, so they can practice it if they like, it is not going to harm them anyway. So these are certain things that we talk about in health education. So what is the basis or background for saying so is that poor sanitary practices are not very easily altered. They need to be inculcated from childhood itself. So like cutting of nails, brushing of hair, wearing clean clothes, taking a bath every day, all these things are not all of a sudden that you go and tell somebody and they will start doing it. If they have a habit of doing it since their childhood, they would easily do it and understand. Then another component in health education messages is family health. Okay, so here we talk about the importance of family. What is the importance of family is that it is the first defense and the chief reliance mechanism in a community. Okay, so immediately you are surrounded by your family, and family protects you, it defends you from the problems. And you can rely on your other family members to take care of you when you are sick. Even if you are following certain behaviors, family members either support you or they criticize you for the wrong practices. So family is the pillar of support for every individual. So this can be impacted. How family health can be impacted is through social and physical environment as well as lifestyle. So if you are following a healthy lifestyle, family health will be good. If you are following a poor lifestyle, then family health will be impacted adversely. Similarly, social environment around the family, if people are happy, if they socialize with each other, then they are a happy family and diseases are less, they care for each about more. Whereas in these days, families are there, but they are usually on cell phones, cell phone families, everybody's on a cell phone, they have less time for interaction, they care less for each other, and as a result, total health of the family suffers. So, what do you target? What are the targets of the health education messages for such cases? So, you talk about health promotion, you talk about disease prevention, you can talk about early diagnosis and how to take care of the sick, depending on the phase a particular family member is in. Okay, so finally, you have to promote the family's self-reliance in aspects of childbearing, rearing, self-care, and adoption of healthy lifestyle by children as well as by adults also. So you have to go on promoting whatever is going well in the family. You have to educate them about benefits of doing good practices in the long run, and you have to warn them about the poor practices or the faulty lifestyles which are there in the family, so that they get a chance to correct it, and then they are able to secure a healthy future for the children of the family. Okay, then finally, we talk about disease prevention and control, which is the mainstay of all health education messages. So, because what presents to us is a patient, and finally, a patient needs advice on how to prevent the disease and how to control the disease. So, let's say a patient has presented to you with tuberculosis, or he has presented to you with hypertension. So, you have to educate him that drugs alone cannot solve his health problems. You give him antihypertensives, you give him anti-tubercular drugs. Do you expect that the problem will be solved? No, because there are so many other surrounding problems. There might be problems at family level. His income might be low. He may not be able to buy nutritious food. He may not be able to rest at home. So many other factors are there. So that's why education is very important. Particularly if we are talking about endemic diseases like cholera, typhoid, or waterborne diseases, as I was telling you, where safe water supply is very, very important, then in those cases, health education becomes very important, because the total entire behavior of the people has to be changed towards a positive direction. Then health education, if you see, we'll tell you later, it is one of the 8 essential activities of primary healthcare. Maybe next time we'll talk about primary healthcare for you from the next class. So I will show you how health education is a very important component of primary healthcare. So all doctors should know how to give effective health education messages so that the goals of primary healthcare are met. Public health programs also rely a lot on health education, because these are major problems like malaria, leprosy, TB. So just giving some drugs has not helped in controlling the problem since ages, right? So these problems are there with us since even before independence, and after 60, 70, or 100 years of existence, we have not been able to tackle these problems, even though drugs were available since the very, or some form of treatment was available, but it did not help. So that means there is something in the mindset of the people, or something is wrong somewhere. So you have to try your best to educate everybody about what is the cause of disease, how the disease spreads, and how it can be controlled, apart from drugs, other things also. So a lot of stress for eradication of these diseases has been placed on health education. In malaria particularly, we have the vector-borne malaria program, and vector control is integrated as a part of malaria control. Okay, so malaria control, it talks about blood testing and drugs, whereas vector control talks about elimination and control of mosquitoes. So how to do that? No drug can do control of mosquitoes, and as long as the mosquitoes are there in the surrounding, people will always be at the risk of malaria and dengue. So the problem has to be eradicated. Now let's say if we talk about rabies. What is the cause of rabies? Infected dog bite. So, as long as dogs keep coming, the problem will not go away. Dogs will bite people. So, why do dogs come? Dogs come in search of food. So, if you have littering practices, if you have improper disposal of garbage, so dogs will come in that area in search of food, and they will be around, they will be rabid, they will bite people, and the problem will keep on repeating itself. So these sorts of education messages, why dog bites happen, why mosquito bites happen, and how to control them, all these things can be talked about in the health education messages. Now, when we are talking about physical health, it is also very important to talk about mental health, because now you see that everybody is talking about mental health, everybody is talking about health promotion, spiritual health, and so many other things, because there has been increase in the prevalence of mental health problems in the modern society. And basically this increase has been attributed to a change from agricultural to industrial economy. So, why there is an increase? Because agricultural economy was more of a self-reliant kind of economy, okay, where people had their own farms, they grew their grains and vegetables. And now in industrial economy, the industries are set up by somebody else, and people go and work in those, so they are just wage earners. So they are not self-reliant anymore. They are dependent on the wages. So in agriculture, the farmers can still have control over how much produce they are going to get, how much money they are going to get. If the produce is good, then they get good returns. If the produce is not so good, they get some support from the government for minimizing their losses. Okay, so this is more a kind of self-reliant kind of a thing, but a wage earner is entirely dependent on the uh, let's say, I wouldn't say landlord, but the employer, let us say. So that is why it is a dependent kind of economy. So change from agricultural to industrial economy, somebody else dictates what you should do, and there is continuous stress, there is continuous blooming of unhealthy practices, like smoking, like tobacco chewing, alcoholism. All these things are the bad effects of industrial economy, we know very well. Then there is also a prevalence of mental health problems, because people have migrated from villages to cities in search of jobs. So it is very well known that villages are close communities, they are small communities, and they are very warm knit, they are very close knit, so they are intimate people. In one village, if you go, you ask about some Mr. X, everybody in the village, every child in the village will be able to lead you to their house, okay, that this is the house of Mr. X, and everybody knows him so well. So when people are known so well by everybody, so that means that their problems are shared, and the let's say uh, they act together to solve a particular problem. Problem solving is also shared. But in city, you go and you ask about you ring my doorbell, you ask who my neighbor is, I might not know who my neighbor is. So that is the situation. We have big buildings in the city, thousands of people living, and we don't know anybody, whereas in the village there are still a few thousand people, but everybody knows everybody. So problems are shared, problem solving is also shared, intimacy is there in the village community, which is lost in the cities, because There they are primarily for their jobs, not for bond building. They just want to earn money and run away. So there are isolated, let us say, isolated individuals in cities rather than communities. So this leads to more stress because there is nobody to share. So health education should help people to enjoy relationships and live and work happily, and that is why there is so much stress these days on healthy families. Not only healthy families, even satisfied job relationships, they say. So at workplace also, workplace hygiene, they talk about that, how workplace should be physically, environmentally and culturally. So people should enjoy a healthy relationship with their boss, with their subordinates, and they should not be under too much pressure of completion of targets. So what are the areas where health educationists can intervene? Okay, so if there is a mother who is just about to give birth and she is working, so at that time she needs special counseling about who will take care of the child, how she can take better care of the child, what are the avenues available for her, and for the child also. So if a working mother you're talking about, you can always advise that the child need not be left alone at home. You can look into the availability of a let's say crash or feeding room at the workplace itself. Western countries do have it. They are allowed to bring their kids at workplace, leave them at the crash, and then frequently visit the children, the babies, for feeding. So all these avenues are available, and it is slowly coming to the Indian community also. So people should be explained about all these things so that they are at ease, that they are not doing something new and they are not going to be criticized. All these things are into existence. Then second thing you can talk about is child at entry into the school. So what should be the age of child, how to look for a good school, what are the developments, mental and physical developments you are aiming at when you are putting a child in school. And you talk about decision about the future career of the child. Okay, so health education can talk about all these things. They can allay the fear and anxieties of the people so that they enjoy happy relationships with other people. Even at the time of loss of a partner, at the time of widowhood, health educationist should support, like how solitary life is going to be in the future, what are the problems that one is likely to face, the most important problem being depression. So how to cope up with those problems, and what are the various supports which are available in the community for such problems. So these are some of the things which you talk about in mental health for their prevention. Then you will have a word about how to prevent accidents. We know accidents can happen most of the time. If accidents can happen everywhere, all around us, small accidents are going on because the modern life has become so complex. There is a lot of complexity, so small fire accidents or mechanical accidents and various kind of accidents happen all around us. It may lead to, if it is very severe, it may lead to loss of life, it may lead to loss of a limb. And you can see accidents everywhere. The major areas are at home, on the road, and at the place of work, because these are the three places where a person is exposed to at the maximum points in time. So how to so pictures are there to show you how accidents might happen at home, how accidents happen on the roads, and even at the workplace. Only yesterday I learnt of a huge fire in one of the industrial areas in Himachal Pradesh, and that led to the loss of lives of more than 40 people in a fire accident in an industry. So it's very sad to learn about that, but though all the precautionary or safety measures were in place, workers were trained, uh, still accidents did happen, and unfortunately the lives of 40 people, more than 40 people in fact, could not be saved. Many people suffered grievous injuries. So all these can be prevented. And if they are non preventable, if it has really led to the loss of life of a family member, or loss of limb, or led to any grievous injury, then how to rehabilitate, okay, such families also is one of the important messages in health education. Okay, so it should be directed towards road safety. We have messages for rash driving and its impacts. Okay, second thing is we should at home we and workplace we can say that everything there is a place for everything in the house and everything should be in its proper place. Only then it is a safe house. Otherwise, if things are lying here and there, it is likely that people might step on them, fall, get hurt. So many different things. So this is a intersectoral thing where the engineering department and police department also can play a role in development of such education messages. And on top of that, government has a very important role. Transport has a very important role because for enforcement of traffic rules, the police department has to come forward and they have to ensure that there is strict enforcement of the rules and nobody can violate those rules. So apart from just educating, then there have to be other factors you see. So this works on the social intervention model where only person is not responsible for the safety. The entire community is responsible for such kind of behavior change and safety. So these are some of the things, contents that we talked about. I'm sure I'll leave you with a small assignment that you imagine that a mother has come to you with a 6-month-old baby. So what are the various health education messages at that point, 6 months old child, you can give for the benefit of the mother and baby. Imagine you are the doctor who is sitting in a primary health center. A mother has come to you with a baby of 6 months. Let's say she has come for immunization. So what are the various messages which you will give her? Another scenario can be a person has a young person, 20-year-old, let's say he is a smoker, has brought his father for checkup who is suffering from tuberculosis. Okay, so what are the various messages which you can give to that person? The father is suffering from tuberculosis, he is also suffering from anemia. So what are the various messages at that point which you can give to the family as a whole? So use of health services is communication gap between public and state administration. It exists and the role of services is to minimize that gap. Then people of certain rural areas do not know what services are available, how to use them, particularly immunization services, family planning services. So they should be made aware what is available for them, what are the choices which are available for them and how to avail them, where to go for them and how to use them effectively. So this is all in models and contents. Usually you get a short note on the contents of health education. So if you try to work out on these two exercises that I gave you, probably you will be able to understand better how you can amalgamate so many topic contents together and make a tailor-made useful message uh, for the beneficiary or for your client. So that's all for today. Thank you. Next time, maybe we will talk about primary healthcare since we initiated the topic on immunization, family planning, health education. So we'll see what is primary healthcare, basic, and who are the various beneficiaries, how it operates, and things like that. Thank you.